For this tutorial, I'm going to take one of my characters that I haven't rigged yet and go step by step from scratch per se and rig this character for Cartoon Animator 4. Now the way I do this won't be perfect, and if you have suggestions, please recommend them. I've been using Cartoon Animator 4 off and on for a year now. So yeah, let's get started. So my favorite way to do this is to always start with something that works. And for that I use the Real-Illusion Hub. I open up the pipeline version of my Cartoon Animator 4. I'm a believer in full versions if the software works. And so I prefer the full version versus the free version. So with that said, let's go into here. We're going to go to Content Manager. We're going to go to Actors. We're going to go to Characters, G360, Human. And for this one, we're just going to do the front pose. And we can talk more about each pose and do tutorials on those later on. I'm going to drag in Martha front facing. And with her selected here, what I like to do is just leave her at the default size. Let's go into Composer mode. And I'm going to use this Photoshop X Launch PSD X editor. And if it's not set up, you'll have to set this up. It'll ask you what you want to use. Let's make sure this is set up, and if you need help on that, just let me know. I always do it the biggest size, and I like to edit the current angle. We'll talk about multi-angles later. And launch. And what that does is it gives me a PSD of Martha with all the current functioning folders, and it works. It's not bugged. I found if I use a template outside of this process, it tends to be buggy. And so I always like to go into Real-Illusion and actually export a current up-to-date character like these 360 head characters. So I'm working with content that works seamlessly in the software already. I'm just going to export it and use that as a template. So one thing I like to do is once I've got that, I like to take my character and just compare it. And I think that's a pretty good size. Even though my character is giant, that's good for me. She'll be crystal clear, so I think that looks good. I don't need to resize her in Cartoon Animator 4. And we can get going on rigging. Okay, so what we need to do now is we're going to come in here, and if you don't have, well, you should have all your character components. I just call this my raw drawing components. I have 4 different folders. This is how I set it up, and I try to closely mimic what you see here in Real-Illusion's exported file folder or structure here. I try to keep it pretty much similar in my drawing, my raw files. The first thing I do is I like to take a copy of my full character and put it down over the crossbars here. So we have them. That was odd. It just disappeared. Okay, there we go. Don't know why. And then what I like to do is collapse these folders on your layers panel here. So once I'm happy with the size of the export with Martha, it doesn't matter if it's Martha or if you choose another character, that's not important. The first thing I like to do is to always save my PSD file. So I'm going to go ahead and save this as, I'm going to go put it in the right folder real quick, girl baby, in the folder called rigged, and I'm just going to call it template front. The reason I save this is so I don't have to work solely with the character through Real-Illusion. If I just save, it's really nice for certain things, but if I just save it and it updates here in Real-Illusion, that's good, but I always want to have that editable PSD file, which is super important, so I can go back and edit whatever needs to be edited at any time. So now that that's done, I don't need Cartoon Animator open right now, or at least I don't need this Martha character up because it's now unlinked with Photoshop because I saved this PSD file to my local hard drive. Alright, so let's get started without further ado. There's 2 different ways that I can approach this. I can either drag each component from here over, or I can just work here in the same file. And for this tutorial, I'm going to work here in the same file. I can close this one for now, my raw original file, and work solely in the template that I just saved to my hard drive. So what I like to do is just open up my folder and just start dragging things where they belong. And we're going to start with the image folder, RL image, and let's go with the left hand. Now these are all the default hands from the character. I'm just going to go ahead and select them all and hit the delete key. And I'm going to take my left hand, and because I had it open, it's right there, I drag it in. Very good. I'm going to do the same thing with the right hand, and it kind of helps. You can just click on it to find it in the folder, delete. I'm going to click on my right hand, make sure it goes over to that right hand. Very good. Next, let's go up to the character and click on her legs, her thighs, excuse me. Now it looks like, yeah, these are going to be separate. So I'm going to find my baby's thighs. Now one thing I always like to do is I like to remove the clothing and always work from skin up. And what that allows me to do with a template is I can come back and put any clothing on this character later. Let me just give you an example. So with this baby girl, I actually have multiple clothing types. You know, there's her in her cute outfit for photos. There's another cute outfit for school or whatever. Here's her dress up photo clothing. So same character, just different clothing. So what I always like to make sure I do, here's her winter outfit, is I like to make sure I always just do skin template. You know, put a bathing suit, undies, or whatever you want on them, and just make sure that you have a base template so you can always put on top of that and save it as a new file for different clothing, you know, different styles. So I may speed through this just slightly because it can get a little tedious, but the goal here is just to go limb by limb, and I'll talk about how I position these bone labels in just a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and get every single one and put them in their folders. You feel free to skip by this, or I'll definitely do a little time lapse on it. Here we go. Okay, just real quick, may have questions about the torso. With Real Illusion, you're going to include the torso and the neck. You can keep them separate, but I don't think you should. I think you'll only separate what needs to move, and yeah, just keep them together. So with the torso, you're going to put it in the hip area. I'm going to go ahead and delete the default Martha hip. And then I also have a neck separate layer, and I'm also going to put that in the hip layer, and I'll talk about combining those later, but just make sure they're both in the hip section. Okay, continuing on, see if I have everything I need to shank. Okay, now that I've got the body done, the RL image in the body, one important thing to keep in mind is the default here has multiple folders for back hair. You'll see these two here. Don't worry about that. You can delete those, or we're going to use them. So I'm just going to leave them by default and see if I need them. If I do, I'll leave them. If not, I'll just delete them. The idea here is to layer as much as you can. In fact, you'll see that when I created this, when this artwork was created, it wasn't created in parts, so we're going to have to split this up and do two different parts just to give it a little bit more flexibility in Cartoon Animator. So with that said, let's go ahead and do the head. The head's a little bit more time intensive, just due to the fact that you've got multiple eyes, multiple mouths. Other than that, it's actually pretty straightforward. I'm going to fast forward most of this, but I'll stop the time lapse at the eyes so we can talk about that. Also, the hands are going to be the same way. Okay, so now they've got most of those components. Now we're going to work on the eyes, and you'll see here that this character has multiple hair, and that's fine. I'm just going to go ahead and click on those and delete those layers. I'm going to leave the folders for now in case I need them. I can always create them if I need to. I'm going to get rid of that front hair, and I'm going to get rid of that back hair on her. Very good. Okay, Now, just real quick, in case you're confused, they have a the talking head, center, right, and left. That's if we have, as you see, her nose to the left and right. That's for a 360 nose if we want to deal with that. I'm not going to deal with it right now, but well, maybe I will this time, just so you can kind of see how it works. But I don't like the 360. I need to be convinced that it's not just gimmicky, still not very smooth. I'm all about smooth animation, so I don't like that nose as much, but we'll leave him, and I'll add my own in just in a few minutes later. So that's what this is. We have a left, which means when the head turns left in the 360 on Ray Illusion. We have a right when the head turns right on the 360 character in Ray Illusion. And I'll go through that once we get this set up and rig our own character. We'll set that up and I'll show you how that works. So we're going to go to the center, and now we're going to work on the eyes. It's important to get this right, so I'm going to pause here with the time lapse and just go through the eyes section. If you're good at this, go ahead and just skip it, as well as the face. So with the eyes, let's start with the eyes. I have created, we have our own eye section where we have different eye positions, eye poses, I should call them. I don't know what you call them. Set up for this character. Can you tell I'm new to animation, like the terminology? And that's okay. I'm excited to learn this, and I think it's all part of, I think any artist would enjoy seeing their artwork come to life, and that's kind of the idea behind this, is artwork coming to life. And it's actually really fun. I'll show you some other characters in another tutorial that I didn't create. You can hire an artist on 99 Designs, you can hire an artist on Upwork and have them create something beautiful, and you rig it and make a beautiful video. I am an artist and I enjoy creating characters, but with my time constraints, I definitely look for talented people to create artwork for me, which is fun because then you bring in new talent, fresh eyes, and different perspective. Alright, so I have my eye folder up, my raw eye folder up. Now I'm going to, I could have included them in the original, but I didn't, so I'm going to go ahead and start dragging these over. So let's come back into our folder, and you might get a little lost in here. Don't fret, don't worry. Just remember you have the talking head folder and its subfolders, and the RL image folder and its subfolders. We're going to be working mostly in the center folder, meaning the center position of her head in a 360 character. And we're going to start with her eyes. So I like to make sure all the other folders are kind of just minimized, so they're out of the way. And let's just start on, I only work with one eye because you can duplicate them. Let's go to the right eye, normal. I'm going to turn off these other eyes for now. And you have three subfolders in the eye. You have the iris, the eye white, and the mask. Let's talk about each of those as we go along. So because I'm working on the right eye, which is your left side because she's facing you, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to grab my iris. Now the iris is one piece. It is the pupil and the outer color, the iris, right? It's that one piece, if that was not understood correctly. And I'm going to delete her iris. Again, I'm working with this original character. I just delete that as I go along and use my own. So iris is there. Now on this original one, I don't need to drag them in because it already exists, so let's just do it that way. So I'm going to go up here, I'm going to drag my iris down because it's already in the right position. I'm going to delete the one I had. My eye white. Now the eye white is going to be all the beautiful, the white of the eye and the outside, the outlines, anything that is part of the eye, including the white, that you want to show artistically. Whereas the mask is going to be just a copy of the white. So when you create these, make sure, I'm going to turn off my eye white. You see how it's just the white? And then the eye white includes the white because that needs to be there. The mask is just telling Ray Illusion, like, hey, I don't want this iris right here to go out here. It needs to stay within that mask, when it moves. So that's all that is. So just make sure you separate when you're illustrating or drawing. Make sure that you have those separate layers, and I could have even separated this more, but on these ones it was combined. In the future, I always keep the pupils separate, the little glint in the eye separate so I can come back and modify them. In fact, one thing I'm going to do really quick, because I have had some feedback from multiple people on these pupils, they're too small. So I'm just going to come in here and quickly enlarge them for this little baby character. So I've got the ellipse. I'm going to create another ellipse. I'm going to change its color to white, and that's going to Command T this, and then shrink it down. I'm going to hold down Alt so it shrinks from the center. I'm going to match my glint there, and then turn off this so I can see the other one. Make a copy of my glint, bring it over here, shrink it down. Okay, and turn back on my, I'm going to put it right there. Great. Just kind of gives a little bit more personality in the eye. So now that I have that, I can come in here and I can convert these to a smart object. I usually do that last in case I want to edit it, but they do need to be layered like this, or Ray Illusion's going to look at just this top layer and use it as the eye in the iris folder. And that's not true on different parts, but for this it's true, so you need to make sure that's converted or rasterized. I just convert it to a smart object, and it doesn't need to be named iris as long as it's in that folder. So now we have the iris, and we have the eye white, which is the art, and then the mask, which is just the white. Very good, that's the normal eye. So now I do need to come over here. I'm going to open up my smile close. I'm just going to open up each subfolder. Now on this, you don't need a mask unless you show the inner iris and white. All you need is eye white, just the artistic portion of the eye. So, and let's go look at what they did for Martha up here. So here's hers. So her eye white includes the eyelid and the eyelash. My eye white for the smile close is just this. And so I'm going to drag this in. I'm going to position it where it would look good if she closed her eyes, and I'm going to go ahead and delete Martha's. And I'm going to put it right about, I just like to make sure it matches up, if it just looks the most natural. So I'm going to put it right about there, and you can kind of do a test there. That doesn't look too bad. Looks like she's closing her eyes. Very good. I might even move it slightly down a little bit. There we go. Great. So now we have her eye white for the smile close, and we're done. These ones are actually pretty quick. Now I'm going to turn off smile close. Well, I can leave it on. Well, I'll turn it off so I can visually see it. I'm going to delete the mask. I'm not sure why Martha has a mask. Let's just go see. Yeah, you don't need a mask for these if there's no you just don't need a mask if there's no iris or white showing. So I'm going to delete that. I'm going to go to eye white. I'm going to grab my smile close eye white. I'm going to drag it in, and this is the correct size. Now smile and closing should be right about there. So let me delete. Let me turn off the normal. And then look at this close. Yeah, that looks just about right, because it kind of gives that appearance of her eyes squinting and smiling. You may need to zoom out just to give it to see how it looks. I'm going to go ahead and possibly move it so it matches that angle, so it looks more natural. Very good. That looks nice. Okay, so now I'm going to turn off the eye close, minimize its subfolders, or its folder and subfolders, and I'm going to come to the scare close, make sure there's nothing in iris, nothing in mask I don't need, and then there's the eye white. So I'm going to come to my scared close art and bring it in. Now I need a reference, so I put it in the right spot. Delete the Martha one, and let's go ahead, and when she's scared, let's compare normal. Let's do eye close. So that's close. There's smile. No, I got those backwards. So I need to, the eye white needs to come in here for that one. So I mixed those up somehow. Let's just double check. So smile close is there, and then just your normal eye close. So I mixed those two up. I apologize. So when she closes her eyes and blinks, that's what we want it to look like. And I used the eye as a reference to make sure it's positioned correctly. So it looks like if she closes her eyes, it should cover that entire thing. And there's her eyes closed. Now when she's scared, it's kind of more squinty, so I like to put it just slightly up from where the eyes closed might be, and even the smile. I think we'll move it to right about there. That looks about right. So I'm going to turn those off, turn back on my reference of my normal eye, and let's now go to eye squints. Now, eye squint is going to be different because it's a different mask and eye white. Now, I'm going to use the same pupil as this, so I'm going to come to my normal eye. I'm going to copy the iris and pupil there, and I'm going to bring it down into eye squint. I'm going to close down normal folder, and I'm going to put this in the iris, so then I don't have to move anything. It's in the exact position. I'll delete Martha's. Now my eye white is going to be different, and so is the mask. So on my eye white, I've got a different shape here, and I'm going to bring this in, and I'm going to put it right about there. Okay, and I'm going to just kind of turn it on and off to kind of check reference. And there's my eye white for squint. Now Reallusion does have an ability to squint just your normal eyes, but I feel like this gives you more quality, where theirs is just kind of squishes it. So if you can make this squint version, it's not that hard. You just do a slightly more squished version of your normal eye. I'm going to delete Martha's eye white. I'm going to come to the mask now. I'm going to get my mask for the squint, and the mask on this one, oh, that's not correct. Let's see. The mask on, it looks like I didn't include the mask, so that's okay. So what we're going to do is I'll just show you how I already make a mask, because the mask that I did here is not correct. So to make the mask, we're going to come in, and there's two ways you can do it. You can take the eye white. Let's delete Martha's mask and erase around, or I think it'd be simpler. I'm going to turn off the iris so I can see, to just get the ellipse tool, default black and white, X to go to white, and I'm going to go right about here. I'm trying to match. I'm going to drag down from my ruler bar, Command R to see the ruler. I'm going to make sure I can get the right spot, and I'm going to click and drag and create an ellipse. Boom. Now I like to color that ellipse real quick. I just do a color overlay by double clicking on it, so I can kind of see where I need to morph it. You want to be as close as possible so it doesn't look funky. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go to edit, free transform path. I can't remember which one it is. No, that's just your transform. I'm going to go to edit. Yeah, so it looks like I need to, in order to edit it, I'm going to turn off the effects, bring it to the garbage. I'm going to convert this to a smart object, and then I should be able to transform. There we go. So I want to do, let's do a distort. Let's see how that does. Now I'm eyeballing it because it's white. I mean, the goal here is to just make sure, I guess I didn't have to take that off so I can see. Make sure you're covering as much white as possible. So I'm going to go edit, transform. Let's do distort. You're just trying to get as much as possible, covering that white as much as possible right there. And hopefully you won't have to redo this. But even if you're making your own art, the idea here is to make sure that your mask covers the white of the eye. I'm going to just bring it out a little bit, and it looks like I need to do something there, and I can't remember. Is it skew? Kind of, not really. And people are going to be screaming at their screen because they know how to do this. There it is. It's the warp tool. Okay, so the warp function. So I'm just going to use these little. Oops, I'm going to get. Let's go zoom in. I grabbed the ruler instead of the actual point here that I wanted to do. And the idea is just to kind of be as close as you can, matching the eye white. And it looks like I went too far. I kind of like to be extreme and just kind of go like this. Great. Let's check this side, see how close we are. Zoom out a little bit and come down there. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you know, if you want it to look smooth and natural, you want to cover as much as you can. Okay, enter. Good. So that one's done. I'm going to throw away the effects, put this on my mask, in my mask folder, and now I have the eye white and the mask, and we're good to go. And there's the full iris, which you'll want because it'll be masked by the mask here. And if that's confusing, it'll make more sense later, but I could just show you real quick by going like this and putting it inside of that, and you'll see, well, it's not, oh, I'm in the wrong one. I need to go in here. Okay, delete, never mind. Okay, so we've got the eye squint done. There's the iris, there's the eye white, and there's the mask, and that looks great. So I'm going to come in here and turn that off, and now let's do the iris change. Now the iris change uses the same as the normal, so I'm going to come up to the normal, and I'm going to copy both the eye white. So I'm going to drag it to here, make a copy, put it in the eye white, delete Martha's, and the mask, I'm going to create a copy, put it in the mask, delete Martha's. Very good. And then for the iris, I'm going to get my own version here, drag it over, and make sure I'm going to turn off normal so I can see my iris. And you kind of want to match the one that is on the normal so that it's all just lined up right there. Great. So I'm going to turn back off normal, and now we have the iris change. And that's the eye setup. Now, once I've got one eye done, because they're identical, they're not artistically different. Sometimes they are, and you'll just have to repeat this process. I'm going to minimize, copy that, double click left eye, paste here, and then before I remove this, I want to make sure it's positioned right. I'm going to go like this, edit, transform, flip horizontally. Very good. Command T on a Mac, and just bring it on over, and just like that, the left eye is done. I'm going to delete the old left eye, and now we have both the left eye and the right eye. And the reason they look different is because I turned those off. There we go. And it doesn't matter what's on or off visible as long as they're there. So now we have the eyes. And we could take this into Cartoon Animator and I could show you, but we still got to set up the bones. So let's keep going. Now our next step is going to be the mouth. I'm going to close my file there and go grab my mouth, my raw mouth file. And I have two different mouths. I have the side 90 degree, and then I have this that I can use on the forward and 45 degree poses, character poses. So let's bring this over here, and you can drag them all over at once, that's fine, or you can do them one at a time. I'm just going to go ahead and drag them all over. Oh, that's the wrong ones, there we go. These are my right ones. I'm going to drag them all in, but before I do, I'm going to make sure I'm in the right spot. So there's the mouth, very good, and no, that's my mouth. I need to delete. So again, not to confuse this, I'm working here. This is my folder that I have. So I'm going to go ahead and delete pajamas. I'm going to delete pink pajamas. We can work on that later. I'm going to delete her hairpin. We can add that in later. I've done the eye, so I don't want to confuse it. This is my folder I drug in. So the left eye, the pants I'm going to leave. I'm going to go put it on the hip so that we have a diaper we can cover with clothing later. But who puts clothing on their babies? Babies like to go in the diaper and the buff if they can. At least my kids did. Then I'm going to delete the mouth as soon as I get the other mouths in. So I just don't want you to be confused what this folder was. This is my folder. The only folders you're going to be doing are these three right there: bone, talking head, and RL image. So we're back on talking head. We're going to find the center pose, and the mouth is right. I can't see it there. So there's the mouth. So I'm going to click on here and drag in all my mouths from my folder. Okay, they're going to be all over the place. So I'm going to come up here. I'm going to go center and center. So it puts them all in the center there. And then I'm going to do Command T. I'm going to move them all right there. Very good. And now I can delete my folder up there. And I'm actually done with all of them, so I'm going to go ahead and hit delete. So I should only have the 3 Real Illusion folders left. Very good. So now with the mouth, I'm just going to start dragging them in. That one goes into normal. Delete Martha's. This one goes to my normal right here. And there's just 2 different types of normal mouths. Don't be confused, like, do I need to do this? You don't have to have both normals, but I like to have lots of options so you have different facial expressions. This gives more feeling to your animation. Pucker lip goes in there. I'm just going to put them all in their folders, and then I'll make sure they're in the right spots. Open lip goes in here. I may fast forward this. Show teeth goes in here. Delete Martha. Mouth open goes in here. Delete Martha's. Very good. Now let's do ah, o, e, oo, woo, f, v, and ol, and kitikiz. That's kind of what I call them. My kids enjoy it. Just going to drag them all in. Delete Martha. Drag it in. Delete Martha. And this allows, this tediousness allows, seamless functionality in Cartoon Animator. So it is tedious. It does take a bit, but once it's all here, if you need to make an adjustment, you've saved it, and it's just an easy adjustment. Okay, the mouths are all in the correct folders structures. Now we need to come over here and make sure they're all lined up to look nice. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize all. Well, no, I need to keep them open. I'm just going to turn them all off, dragging and holding down the click. Turn on my normal one. Normal smile. Where did my teeth smile go? That's kind of my reference. That's the one I use to be my reference. No, that's the one right there. So what I like to do is I like to play off this one. So I'm going to turn off these and make sure that the rest look correct. The normal one would go right in the center there for sure. And then we've got the smile open. That's not right. That's normal smile. So we need to find open mouth there, normal smile there, and then is this the same? Interesting. I might have a couple different versions here. I think I like that one better, so I'm going to delete that. And then I look at the pucker lip. Let's turn off normal and normal and smile open. Pucker lip, let's just position it there. Kind of cute little lips. I'm going to enlarge it even though it's a little pixelated. There we go. Open lip, let's make sure it matches the smile open. Yeah, that works. Show teeth, looks good. Normal, I'm going to bump it up just a little bit. And then the ah needs to come down a little bit. Ah, because the jaw drops. Ah. And then O. O kind of looks good. Let's move it there. E. E is just kind of like stretching the lips out. Ooh. Let's turn off E so I can see. And the game here, the game, in my experience, is just position things where they should go logically on the face. Depending on your art style, that will vary. And then woo, where's woo? I can't even see it. Woo. Okay, so it's kind of tiny. I'm going to go ahead and enlarge it just to woo just a little bit and move it over. F and v. Let's make sure that is adorable. That's good there. And then let's see if our baby can use the L and let's match it with the, let's look at the normals. Okay. Where's my smile open? Yeah, that works. I think that works. And then the K, the D, and the Z, kind of the same. Let's just move it up to match. There we go. And it's important these are in the right positions. Now that I have all that, I'm just going to turn them back all on. It doesn't matter to Real Illusion as long as they're in their folders, if they're visible or not. Again, I'm going to hit save. So we've done the mouths, and last but not least, for putting our own artwork before we put the bones in their places, is the hands. So I'm going to go open my hand folder, and there are a total of, I think it's a 29? Yeah, 29 hands. You can do more than this. In fact, I'm going to add a couple more. A front-facing thumbs up, if it's facing the camera rather than the side-facing. You can do as many as you want, but these are the ones Real Illusion recommended. And so what I'm going to do is do the, let's start with the left hand. No, let's start with the whatever's visible. Looks like it's the right hand. So I'm going to select all mine. I'm going to go click the right hand right there, and I'm going to go drag all these over. Oops, let's do that again. All 29, drag them over. I'm going to align them horizontally and vertically. Command T to move them all over here. I like to put them off to the side so I can make sure they're the right size and position. And then now it's just the name of the game is making sure they align up with this forearm here. Okay, and you'll see a little nub, and we'll modify this in just a minute to make sure everything's in its place. So I like to turn them all off and do one at a time, or you can keep them on and just drag them over if they're off to the side like that, and just do them one at a time. And then turn off the ones with it. So that one's done. I'm going to come over here. Now it is important. I'm going to come up and turn on my, this helps a lot to position this correctly. I'm going to turn on the human bones, and I'm going to go find the hand from Martha. It looks like here's the hand nub, and if you have doubts or questions, just they're here in the folder. I'm going to do the hand nub and just put it down here on the nub of the hand, and then I need the hand, the right hand, where it starts. And what that does is it helps me to have a reference point of where the original relaxed hand, the normal hand, is at. And this is going to want to be on the joint of the wrist. In my experience, that's been the best position so far. And it's going to want to cross over to the nub of the forearm. So you have both there. Now if I turned off the forearm, it should cover right there. Yep. And you can adjust this if anything is funky once you import it into Cartoon Animator. So now that I have those, it makes it a little bit easier to adjust this. Now I've done the relaxed one. I'm going to bring over the victory. I'm going to turn off relaxed and victory. And I'm paying attention to here. If I need to add more in the artwork, I'll just paint on it and make sure it's there. And the goal here is to make sure if it's turned this way, it looks correct. All right, so I'm going to do right about there. Looks good. Turn that one off. Go get my 7. That's super cute. Get the OK. And if it helps you to zoom out and have a more visual reference like this, go for it. Whatever helps you make it look its best. I know that's kind of common sense, but. And I'm going to fast forward this so you don't have to watch me. Alright, last but not least, I've got this last hand on there, and I'm going to go ahead and copy them all over to the other hand. So I'm going to turn them all on, and I'm going to minimize that folder, take the right hand, and it really helps to have these other ones closed so you're not dragging folders within folders and having issues. I'm going to go ahead and copy that, paste. I know that's my old one, this is my new one. And so let's go ahead and take my new one, edit, transform, flip horizontally, Command T. Now it looks like we have, what's going on? We have something over there. It looks like one of my images is in the wrong, or it has extra artwork. That's why there's this window so big when I did Command T. So I just need to double check which one that is. But I just moved that over and delete the old one. Now I have my left hand and my right hand all positions. Save. Let me just double check. I'll fast forward through this or cut it out. What is that? Oh, it's this one. Okay, so it's this. So E. Okay. And the right hand. Same thing, E. Save. All right. Now everything is in position. So what we're going to do is move the bones. So I'm going to come over here. And so I'm not moving things around that I shouldn't be moving around. I'm going to click on RL image. And I'm going to lock it with the lock button here so I don't move any of these images. And then I'm going to take the head bones on the talking head first and start there. The face bone, if you can't find it, if you do Command 0 on a Mac, I think it's Control on a Windows PC, it finds it for you, it zooms out. Or what I like to do is I just take them all like this, Command T, and just drag them down to where I can see the whole face and just start working with them, clicking on one at a time. So I'm going to click on this one. It says the face. The face you're going to want to put just somewhere, in my experience, just over the right where the face begins. Okay, it doesn't really matter too much. The mouth you're going to want to center on the normal mouth, which is right there, I believe. Where's my mouth? Boom. Yeah, there's the normal mouth. Just center it. The next one, let's click on. This is the that's the front hair B. So I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'm just going to move it over there. Here's the nose. We got to deal with the hair in just a minute. And hopefully you're picking up tips and ideas as you're going through this. Right in the center on the nose. And then we have the left ear. I just put it right there. We have the, I just kind of like to go part by part. The right ear, I'm going to match it up. See how those 3 pink lines matched it up. And then we have the left eye right in the center of the pupil. Hopefully that's the right eye. I'm going to match it up to that one right in the center of the pupil. And then we have hair. And I'm just looking over here as I click on each one to see what they are. There's the left brow. There's the right brow. This is hair. Back hair. I'm going to go put on the back here. Doesn't really matter too much. You'll adjust these in the next portion of this. Then my front hair, just as long as it's touching the front hair. That's touching the back hair layer. And then we have back hair too. We'll see if we need that. And looks like I've got them all. And you'll know if you didn't once you are in Crazy Talk, or Cartoon Animator, excuse me. Crazy Talk's the old version. So now I'm going to go up here and I'm going to move these guys. That's way off. That's the hip. So I'm going to take all of these, except for the object pivot, and I'm going to move all of these down. I guess I don't need to move those. I'm going to move everything but the feet. So don't need you. Or the shanks. I'll deal with those. So this is the body bone structure. And where's the I did the left shank, where's the right shank? Right there. Okay, what do I have still? I have the foot. There we go. That's what I need. I'm going to move all these down so I can work with them a little bit more. Okay, so now that I move those down a bit, let's put these in their correct positions. Let's start with the feet and work our way up. Here we have the toe nub. What we want to do the toe nub is just go to the nub of the toe, right there. This one is the toe. Where does the toe start? Very good. And this just kind of gives Real Illusion an idea on where these parts are at. And I'll cover this with pajamas and different things in the next section. All right, so now I've got the foot, I put it on the heel, and then I've got the left foot itself. And that's going to want to be on the crossover of your two art pieces. So I'm going to unlock all this. I'm going to show you my foot. There it is. So I want to put this down here. And now let's make sure the shank is off and turn on the foot. So I may need to rework this just a little bit. In fact, I'm going to do that real quick. So I'm going to come here, I'm going to create a new layer. And the reason I'm reworking it is it needs to be more nubbed. So that we have when we put it in Cartoon Animator, it looks right when it's being moved. Okay, and I could just copy this over and do it, but I'll just hurry and do the same thing on my other foot. Create a layer underneath. Now it's super important when you're creating artwork in this template structure, this Real Illusion template, to merge them. Otherwise, I'll show you what happens if you don't merge them. I won't merge them and show you, so you can see what you need to do. So now that I have that, I'm going to move this bone here. This is the left foot, where the foot actually connects to the bones on the shin. Turn back on my shank, and then let's turn off the foot, just to give you an idea again where that needs to connect. And I didn't turn off the whole foot. I need to turn this off. So I'm going to convert those. Now that's the shank. Okay, I did it on the wrong layer, that's why. So this needs to go into the left foot. Where's my left foot? Right there. That's why that didn't work out right. There we go. So it's actually connecting. You'll see how it's crossing over. So if I took the left foot and I moved it, you can see we have the nub here and the nub here. It depends on where you want it. It's always better to come center. Then it doesn't look funny if the foot moves a certain way. I may have put too much on this foot, so I'm going to just bring this back over here, and I'm going to erase just a little bit using the eraser tool. What I did, I need to turn up my opacity or my exposure on my eraser, and it's also let me undo that. I need to do a hard eraser brush. Better than eraser always as an artist is to use a mask. Always, always, always. I can't believe I did that and I showed you such a bad example. Use masks. Then you can always, and I'm using black on a mask, I can always hit X and use white to bring it back. Then you're not actually erasing artwork. I'm just trying to erase some of this because I don't need all of it, because when the foot turns, let me give you an idea why. So let's say the baby's foot goes like this, it'll be connected there. It won't look too funky. So let's just move it. I think I'm going to want it connected right here, just so it looks right. I'm going to do the same thing over here. In fact, I'm just going to copy the left foot and call it the right foot, and then edit, transform, flip horizontal, Command T, and just move it right on over there. Then I'm going to get rid of the old right foot, delete. Great. And if it doesn't work, your folder structure is just, when we import it, your folder structure is not right. Okay, so now that I've got those fixed, let's get back to our bone structure. So I'm going to put that there. I'm going to match the right foot, and sometimes it helps just do this, Command T, and then just go Shift right over, and I'm going to put it, match it there. Same thing here. This is the R foot 2, like that, Command T, Shift right over. They're symmetrical this way. You don't have to do it like this, depending on your character setup. Maybe your character doesn't have symmetrical dimensions, but most humans have it within reason. I don't know why that one's off. I'm going to put it right there. Toe nub. As long as it's covering the artwork. And if it's not covering the artwork, I'll show you what happens in Reallusion when we import it. I'm going to show you what to avoid and what can happen. So let me actually put this right here and I'll show you what that will do. Alright, so now we need to find the knees, and let's see, that's the hand. I don't know what they're doing over here. We'll have to rework that. This one is going to be the left shank, which is going to go connect with the knee joint. So let's go find the left shank, turn it off, put this where we want it to connect, and then let's go over here and turn off the thigh and turn back on the shank, and you'll see that we have a massive shank in our artwork when we did this, and that's okay. This is what this is all about. So that may look funky. I'm going to leave it so you can see what it looks like, and we're going to come back and modify it. Or what I probably should do is move this up to here, and the idea here is to cross over those two nubs. And by nubs, if you haven't caught on, what I mean is, let me turn off the shank. This is a nub, okay? And I'm kind of centering it on that, and you'll see how this looks over the kneecap there. On this one, every character is different. It depends on how they bend. And now I'm going to do the same thing here and see if that's over. Yeah, we're probably going to have to reduce this because it's going to poke out. But I'll show you how to tell. I'm going to leave it for now so you can see what that looks like. I'm just going to bring this here. Command T, Control T on a Windows, I think. I'm on a Mac. Macs are better. Argue with me in the comments if you want. Alright, so those are the two shanks. Now we need to find the thigh joints, and to do that I'm going to turn off the diaper, and we have the torso here. I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to connect it right here, and this will change depending on the outfit. Everything is going to change. The bone structure we're setting up is all about what looks natural when you bring it into Reallusion and start testing it. It'll change when I put her in pink pajamas. It'll change when I put her in her dress. Dramatically change sometimes. But for this, the template, I always like to start on the base, because then I can save this as, you know, front baby dress, and I can just put the dress where it needs to go in each folder. If I have this template, it's really quick. So there's my thighs. Very good. I'm going to turn back on my torso, and I'm going to bring down the hip. Now the hip you want at the hip, because this is where it can bend at the hip. And so this baby's hip I'm going to put right there. And then we probably have the torso, and you want it to be able to bend at the torso right here. The bottom of the rib cage is where I found it works best. So rib cage, top of the hip here, and you got your hip joints. And we'll look how this looks with the baby. And now we got to come back up here, and we have the neck. Where does the neck begin is where this goes. We have the head, and the head is kind of where you want it placed on the neck. And so what I like to do is I come into the face, and I put this right here, just kind of where I want the head to be, because we also have something called the head nub. And the head nub is going to go to the very top, I believe. Let me go double check that. PSD. No, it's not. Face. Interesting. Okay, so that's good to know. So the head nub is actually going to go on the nub of the neck. So when you're drawing your character, this is important because it shows Cartoon Animator where to rotate the head. So when you're drawing your character, you want to make sure your neck is up here enough. So the nub is going to be right about there. And then the head is going to float down to there, and then the neck kind of starts right there. So that's super important. Otherwise you get, let me just show you real quick, you get what's called the wobble head. And I'll just bring up an example from one of my first animations, and I will actually do this in another one. I will show you how this works in another one. So I'm going to go to the turtle animation example. So I just pulled this off a site called FreePic, and you get what's called a see how his head kind of wobbles?
Yes, sir. Pancakes coming right up.
And the reason that is because his head nub, I thought it was up here, because when I actually started, I used a template that Reallusion provided, and it was wrong, and it put me through months of torment until someone corrected me, and the head nub needs to be at the right there, and otherwise you get bobblehead. Now if you want a bobblehead, you know, the ones that you put in your car, there you go, there's the secret. Put the head nub way up here and it'll bobble, but it needs to be down here, and that's what happens if you don't do that. So, and this turtle will be in another from scratch. It's really fun to put together things like this. All right, in another tutorial, that is. Sorry, finished my thought there. So now that I have that head nub in place, I'm going to come back in and I'm going to spruce up a little things that I forgot to do, but let's just make sure everything else is in place. Am I missing anything? All right, so the arms. Let's do the arms. That's super important. Now, if I imported this into Reallusion right now, let's just do that for fun because it's so fun. Go to rigged. I'm going to come in here, get out of Martha's composer mode, delete Martha, come in here and just drag my rigged character in. So pretty good so far, right? But there's some problems. You'll see all sorts of issues. The arms are off, and that's okay. It's not going to ruin your PSD file because you've saved it as a PSD. It's totally separate from Reallusion. So I'm going to hit back to the stage mode and delete that, come back into Photoshop, and make sure I've corrected that. So let's come over here. This one is the left hand nub. So I'm going to just put the nub of the hand. This one is the left hand, which needs to go over the nub of the wrists and the forearm. So I'm going to just double check, go to my forearm, turn it off. That looks pretty good. And then turn off my hand. We'll try that. We'll see how that looks. And then the same thing over here. I kind of like to, because this is a symmetrical thing, I like to bring it over here, match it, Command T, Shift, so it goes right over and right about there. And we'll try that. And then same thing with the nub, just so they're consistently symmetrical. I'm going to move it right about there. Great. Now that those are in place, we need to find the forearm. And it's going to be the same idea. Let's go turn off the forearm, find my arm nub. There it is. Now let's go find the arm and turn on my forearm. And so that's going to be a little, we'll see how that looks. I'm going to move it up. We'll see how it works. We may have to adjust some of this. Same thing with this one. I'm going to match it. Command T, Shift, so it's, there we go. And then I'm going to grab the arm, and typically it should connect right there. We'll find out. Let me turn on the arm on this side over here. There's my forearm. And you'll just have to get used to moving around in these folder structures. So there's the arm. Let's turn off the hip, the torso, excuse me. Yeah, see how this is connected way over here? So let's just try it. I like to try it before I modify it. There we go. And that looks good. Save. So now that we've got the whole body's positions, I'm going to turn back on the torso. So if your kid walks in, they're like, what's wrong with that baby? That's how my girls are, my daughters. All right, so I need to fix the hair now. So we have the front hair. And the front hair, if you see here, is that whole section. I want to put it in two so I can play with the left and the right. So I'm going to come to this layer, and when you don't have to do this at this point. You should do it before and keep it in separate layers. We didn't. So I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to turn off the one, and I'm going to put the other one in the right. And I'm going to start on that one. So this is the right side of the head, which is my left staring at the screen. I'm going to add a mask. And I'm going to go to the brush, make sure it's big enough, make sure it's a hardness full 100% opacity and 100% flow. Very good. I'll turn on smoothing, 25%, great. And I'm gonna get rid of the left side. So you'll see this mask allows me, so I'm just gonna go to the part right there. And maybe to there. Great, so that's done. And now I can come in here and I'm gonna duplicate this and put it in the front left, turn that one off so I can see what I'm doing. I'm gonna hit X to paint back in this side because it's a mask. And then hit X again to go to black and take out this side. And so that gives me a left and right hair to work with in Cartoon Animator, which is really important to have. Make sure this is going. It is, okay. That would be bad. So there we go. Now we have a front left and a front right, and then the front one, so on these both, I'm going to delete or take away with the mask. Well, I guess I don't need anything. It's important to leave defaults, I think. So I'm just going to leave front hair there, but I'm going to erase everything in it because I don't need it. I just like to have it there as a placeholder for future if I need to fill it in with something. So there's my front hair. Now with masks, you can just leave it as is, so you can come back and edit it, and Real Illusion will take it as a mask. I think that's been the case so far. Now I have this back hair. Well, before I get there, let me turn these back on and see what I have here. So this bone is front hair left. I'm just going to put it there. This bone is front hair right. I'm going to put it right there. This bone is front hair back, which we don't have. So I'm going to delete that one. Now, if I delete that bone, I need to delete it here if the folder exists. So front hair B. You don't have to, but I like to keep things organized. I'm going to delete that folder. Great. And now we have, what do we have? Back hair 2. So I kind of want to keep my back hair the same on this hairstyle. On different hairstyles, I'll change it. It would be nice to have that alfalfa separate though, so I am going to separate that. So let's go find the back hair layer, My Art. I'm going to duplicate it, turn one off. I'm going to put this in the back hair 2. And let's go in there and edit it by adding a mask. And all we want, let me turn off the front hair so we can see what we're doing, is I just want that nice alfalfa. So I'm going to go ahead and hit B for brush, go back to my back hair, right there to the mask layer, and I'm on black, and I'm going to just take that. I want to be able to see behind, so I'm going to turn off the face, go back to my back hair, and I could enlarge this, but I'll just make this quick. And all I want is that alfalfa right there, so I can use it separate. Okay, I'm gonna save. Always a good idea to save every now and then. And now that the back hair is done, I'm going to come in and turn on this and add a mask to this, and I'm going to paint out using the mask and brush this alfalfa because I have it now right here. And then I have 2 separate layers. Save, turn those back on, not to freak out my daughters. There we go. And she's a baldy bus baby, he, she. I guess they can all have this kind of hair, doesn't matter. And there we go. And we are set up. I'm going to save, and we're about to find out if we aren't set up because it'll look funky. And I showed you this here to show you what happens if you bring one of these bone labels off of art. So let's save. That's nice and saved. I'm going to go to Cartoon Animator pipeline, drag my PSD in, and just like that, we have a fully rigged character. Now, problem. If you see this gray, so I'm going to do Option, right-click, drag, and then left-click, drag. If you see this, that means we have a problem. That means that bone structure is not on a piece of artwork. And here you can see as well, we're missing the torso. Why? So I'm going to go ahead and close this. That's an easy fix. I could just stay in there and replace using this right here, but I don't like that. It's buggy. I just come back, delete, come in. I know what I need to fix. I need to fix this. Make sure it's on the artwork right there. And then the torso is missing because if I come in here, I have 3 layers. Okay, so you could take just that and have a naked baby, but I'm going to keep that on because I can always cover it in different ones. But I'm going to go ahead and go convert to smart object, those 3 layers. I'm going to, also the foot, you'll see that there's 2 on the foot. That needs to be converted to a smart object or rasterized or combined, merged. I don't have back hair 2. I don't have back hair, so I'm going to delete those. Actually, I shouldn't delete that because this needs to go behind the neck. So I'm going to bring this back hair. This is in the center face folder. I need to bring it in the body back hair folder so it goes behind the neck. Okay, so let's see how that looks. Save, go over here, and let's see if I have any issues. Okay, very good. Now, where's my back hair? Let's go figure this out. There it is, but it doesn't like it, and it's probably because I got rid of the bone. So just for this tutorial, because you don't do this very often, I'm going to bring it back up to here in the back, not in the right ear, in the back hair folder. Save. Let's go back, delete, drag it in the new saved version. And all I did was move that hair, see the back hair there, to that section because the neck doesn't show. But on a character like this girl, you're going to want to make sure, depending on the hairstyle, let me find the hairstyle. There it is. This hair is going to have to go behind the neck and the body, so that will go in the back hair folder, and I'll do that in a different tutorial as well. So, but for her, she looks good. What I always like to do once I've fixed any issues is the very first thing is I come in here and I hit preview and I zoom in just a bit and I make sure the head is correct. That looks good. I check the wrists and the arm right here. I always look at that armpit to make sure it looks natural. That looks pretty good, actually. I'm surprised I didn't have to edit anything for the baby. I guess it's kind of forgiving with all that cute chubby loveness. The hand, the wrist looks good. I'm going to try this wrist over here. If there's issues, you go back in your file. That looks pretty good, a little baby fat. And let's go try the, you have to get used to moving around. It's so important to getting used to holding down Option. I'm on a Mac. I think it's Alt on a Windows. I don't know. I've given up on Windows. Definitely check the foot. And if I do this, that actually looks pretty good. I mean, that doesn't look good, but like the knee, it looks like the knee. That's actually really good. And with the diaper covering, I think I'm okay there. I'm not worried about the diaper because if she has an outfit, then this baby it'll be rigged differently. So actually, that's pretty good. Now, you do see one issue here that we're going to go fix on this foot. So if I hit this foot here on this preview mode, there it is, but something's going on right there. It looks like the foot is cut. So I need to fix that. And it might be that I didn't merge them. Let's go find out. So I'm going to go out of preview mode, go back to stage mode, delete this because it doesn't matter. And then once we're done, we're going to put the 3D face in. I'll show you how that works. So I can go down to the feet and see what's going on. Left foot looks good. The right foot needs to be converted. Okay, save. Now that should have fixed it. Let's just go see. Let's turn off the shank. No, it looks like I need to round that off. That's where we're looking like it's cut. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to add a new layer, go underneath the foot. I'm going to hit brush and then I'm going to hold down Option or Alt, get that color. I'm going to shrink my brush a bit, make sure I'm 100% on this one because of the art. I'm just going to fix that right there. Let's create that nub I originally created but got rid of. And let's just see how that looks. I'm just going to add a little bit of artistic style there to join that in. Let's go to this foot, do the same thing, put it underneath, turn off the shank, and go to this layer, brush, enlarge my brush. And if you guys are interested in a tutorial on Photoshop, the basics, I'm happy to help. Just let me know in the comments. Great. So now that I have those, I'm going to go ahead and convert to a smart object. Those 2 layers, so Real Illusion actually uses it. And this is why you always keep a separate file than your original artwork, because if you ever need to go back to the original artwork, you have it. and you don't have to worry about editing this template. So I'm going to hit save, go back here, drag in that new baby rigged. There it is. And let's see if that fixed the feet. Real Illusion's going to process. Let's go zoom in, turn on the preview mode, and baby's foot looks good. Baby's foot looks good. Sweet, that fixed that issue. Very nice. So easy peasy. Now we have this character. She's rigged. The next thing we need to do is make sure the 3D head is set up correctly. So to do that, we're in composer mode still. We're gonna click on the head. I don't think you have to click on the head because we're in composer mode. Nope, you don't. And I'm going to click on 360 head creator. Now there's different types and there's different ways to create a 360 degree head and make it fully 360. This first way I'm going to do it is a morph based head. And the morph based head is not true 360, and I actually like it better because it feels smoother. The 360 kind of feels rigid and clunky. So before we get into that next video, I'm actually going to stop this one. It's getting pretty lengthy, and we'll do the 360 degree head and the morph base head in the next section, the next tutorial. But just to wrap this up, I always like to come in here, go to my character, and test that the mouth is working. Now it's going to be a little funky here because not everything's set up for the 3D head.
Up, down, left.
Yeah, you'll see everything
right,
just kind of crazy.
And some natural movement. Eyes closing and blinking. Up, down, left, right, and rolling. A, E, I, O, U, and meow.
Alright, very cute.
Smile. Angry.
I'll just let that
Sad.
keep going, but this just kind of
Happy.
gives you an idea that you set all the
Surprised.
facial things correctly.
And
Everything's... Whoa, what happened to that nose? So I may want to check a couple things just watching that. If the nose does something like that, I like to always come back in and make sure the nose doesn't have some rogue piece of artwork on it. And so I'm going to click on the nose, and if I do Command T, it doesn't look like it does. So it's most likely something in Real Illusion, and that's not a big worry. But if this Command T, if this box was huge, that means I have some rogue artwork I need to erase somewhere and make sure the nose is just that small little section. Alright, so one thing I did want to finish up before I'm done here and we go on to setting up the head is this face. Now, the original artwork was combined. We no longer do that. We make sure we do separate layers on everything. But that blush, I want to be able to move as a separate layer. So I'm just going to hurry and feel free to skip this or go to the next tutorial if you're not interested in this section. But I just need to modify this. So we have the face. I'm going to put this actually here in the center. I'm going to call this blush. Blush. And it's actually going to be, I shouldn't have duplicated that. I need to undo. Actually I did. I want to duplicate so I can have a reference. On the face, I'm going to click B and then Alt or Option. And I'm going to bring my brush up, and I want to get rid of all this blush. I want it on a separate layer. Now the bottom is okay, so I'm going to leave it on the bottom. I'm going to undo all that. The bottom's fine because that actually gives it good artistic style. Let me turn that one back off. I'm going to take my brush and make sure it's soft, and I'm going to turn it down to 75 and 50. Nope, not the angle. Flow of 50. I'm going to change my brush to the one I made this with, which is going to be my, I think it's this one. Yes. Okay, and I'm going to take the color right here, and we're going to get rid of this cheek blush because it needs to be on a separate layer. And I'm going to turn off the eyes so I can see what I'm doing. And the reason you want it on a separate layer is to be able to move it as the head moves. That's really important to have that. Not too concerned with this, but I will just modify it slightly. Okay. Just painting over using my stylized brush. Very good. Now I want to bring back in some of that. Well, I still have a little bit there, a little bit there. I'm going to bring back in some of that shadow. Oh, not that much. I could do this with a selection. Okay, very good. And I think I lost a little bit here. There. That looks nice. And so now that I have that, I'm going to go and create a new layer, blank. I'm going to put it up here on the top of center. I'm going to call it blush right. And I'm going to take my brush, I'm going to make it big, I'm going to turn on my backup copy, get that color, that nice pink, turn off my backup copy, and just kind of as a reference, I'm going to look at that. So we kind of want to go over the nose, it's cute. Oh, it's a little too thick, too fast. So I'm going to turn my opacity down to 75, flow down to 35. Let's see what that gives us. That's better. I'm going to turn my reference again. Still a little thick, so I'm going to do 55, brush, 55, and 35. And let's turn that back off, and let's try this again. Just kind of color it in so this is, I'm doing the right. Oh, I'll name it in a minute. In fact, I'm just going to bring this as a reference so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to pull it all the way down here, and I will delete it in just a minute, reference only, just so I can kind of match what we have before. Now again, you don't have to do this if you've done it properly and you're not you're layering things correctly. This is what I tell my daughters who are taking their animation art classes, to layer properly so they don't have to do this in future when they're animating or doing all sorts of things with their artwork. So it kind of comes up over this way just a little bit. That's kind of nice. Just give it a little bit of, okay, that might be extreme, but I think I like that. And let's just see what happens if I copy it, edit, transform, just for time's sake, flip, move it on over to this side. And then what I'll do is I'll mask it. So it doesn't matter if it goes over because it's going to be masked on the face. It looks good except for right here. It's too much. So I'm going to do blush R and blush L. I'm going to create a mask and I'm going to erase where it doesn't belong. So kind of just, which one am I on the left side? Yeah. So that's good. Now let's go to the right side, create a mask, brush. There. Actually looks pretty good. So now I have the blush, and then the other portion that I don't want there is, let's go to the face. Where's my face? Let's get my brush out and let's turn off the hair so I can see what I'm doing. Front hair, front hair. Okay. Now the same thing here. It's nice to be able to move this, so I'm going to go ahead and paint it out. And again, keep this in separate layers. It'll save you a ton of time and energy. Very good. Okay, so I'm going to take a new layer. I'm going to call this one under hair. And for this, Hey, good morning. I'm almost done with my tutorial. I'm gonna take the, you're okay. I'm gonna take my eyedropper and get this color here, and I'm gonna bring in some, let's make it a little bigger. I can't tell if that's doing much. Am I on the right? Oh, I'm not on the right one. I'm on my reference. I need to make sure I'm on my layer there. There we go. That's a little too much. So let's shrink it. And again, this will be completely masked, so it doesn't matter too much if I'm a little messy. Now let's go get that nice pink color. And just kind of, that's a little too much. Let's turn my opacity down to 35. And let's give it a little more natural. And then let's turn this down, shrink it. Nice baby blush face. Now most of that won't show because we'll have the hair, but now we have it on a separate layer. And it's showing up above because I have the layers here, but it doesn't matter. So now I'm going to hit save, and let's delete this reference, and I have the original if I need it. Okay. Now let's bring this into Cartoon Animator. So let's go back, delete, and bring the baby in. Great. Now it's going to look funky because of all those different layers, but if I come to the layer manager and I move the blush, move the blush, and move the blush, there you go. And what that allows us to do is when we come into this head creator in the next tutorial, so we're not done yet, when we come over here, that's really hideous. I'm just going to load one of my previous ones just so we can have a reference. When I come over here or here, we'll be able to move that blush with the hair. And you see this nose right here? What that's coming from, and I'll go into details in the next tutorial, is the left and right here. This is for a 360 head, a true 360 head. I'm not going to use them in this one, but I will show it in the next tutorial, so I'll keep it there. But we're done with this up to this point. You have a fully rigged character ready to go. You just need to make sure, well, let me just finish by showing you how to save this character in Cartoon Animator for future use. Once you've got your character down to where you like it, you're in composer mode. And let's just do this because this is driving me crazy. Let's move the blush to the proper spot. Very good. And you're ready to save the character, all your 3D head setup. I like to save it at this point and then do the 3D head. You go File, Save Character. I just leave it in the default. I just always try to back them up once a month if I'm doing a lot of character stuff, just in case. Put it in the cloud. And I'm going to call this one, it's my family set. And this is going to be Baby Template Front. And now I have this character. And what that does is if I come back here and I'm in here and I've set up everything, including the 3D face, I come in here into my characters, go to Custom Character, and I have that baby right here. And just drag her in, and she's now a character in Cartoon Animator. And just for fun, let's go to Animation, and let's go to Perform, and this is going to look really funky because it's not all set up. But just to give you an idea, I haven't finished setting up the 3D head, so it's going to be a little funky. There we go. Oops. Bravo. I have two selected. There. Super cute. She's totally ready, except for the face, which we're going to do the next tutorial for sake of time. And we'll cover how these layers work, and we'll fine-tune things that need to be fine-tuned. All right, thanks for watching. See you in the next tutorial.